Rachel, welcome to Candler in Conversation. I'm so happy you're here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We graduated the same year. So much life has happened, and now we're
Okay.
here for this conversation on stillness.
Mm-hmm.
So grateful that you're here. So
Me
I just
too.
want to first just ask you, with your life and work, how has stillness shown up in your life, and what has it informed for you?
Great question. So, silent retreats is kind of how it all started for me. And I went on my first silent retreat in March of 2022. And it has just kind of been a practice that I've come back to over and over again. Um, and it feels almost like working out, like it's a muscle that I've worked out to be able to be in silence and to receive the gifts that come from knowing how to be in the presence of God.
Mm. I like that you said it's a muscle because
Yeah.
it makes me feel better because I struggle with it sometimes.
Totally.
Like, as soon as you try to have a quiet moment, you just try to center down.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, all the things you didn't do, it's like everything just rushes back to your mind.
1,000,000%.
So I love that you said muscle because it reminds us that it's something that we have to continually practice.
Yes.
So,
Stillness is a practice.
yes.
And it is one that the more we do it, the better we get, and the more, I guess, open we are to receiving the gifts that it has to bring to us.
Mhm.
hmm
Why do you think it is that sometimes we're afraid of stillness and quiet?
I think our minds can be really busy and loud and sometimes scary. And quiet, slowing down almost feels like an invitation for all of our worries and fears to catch up to us. And so when we think about being quiet or being still, it feels scary or intimidating, like we're going to have to really face some stuff that we might not want to. But what I've actually found in stillness is a reservoir of peace and strength that I didn't even really know that I had access to, or didn't know I had access to all the time.
Mm. That's so true. How, because for your life and work, you've been a youth pastor
Yeah.
for many years.
hmm
You worked with youth, young adults, college students.
hmm
So how have you helped them find spaces for stillness as well?
I try to incorporate stillness just in the rhythm of programming. It's
Yeah.
weird to think about it in that way, but, to create moments of silent prayer, to create moments of just quiet listening, reading scripture and just hearing it,
Hmm.
taking them on retreats and giving them opportunities to go out and just be in nature and enjoy the stillness of nature. Um, there's a lot of different ways to engage with stillness and silence, and I think sometimes we think of stillness as in not moving, but I think stillness here and in the Thurman quote is more about the absence of bustle, the absence of hustling or constantly feeling busy. It's an inner rest and peace and calm, not necessarily an absence of movement, but a
Yes.
a, a posture of the spirit.
Yes.
Mm.
Because some of my greatest moments of stillness for me is usually hiking,
Yeah.
being in nature, just kind of being by myself. But
Mhm.
I've realized for me personally, stillness, if it's just me sitting in a room quietly and not moving at all, there's something extremely difficult about that. And
And
maybe it's something I have to grow to, but it is.
you're normal.
Yeah.
I think you're so normal. Stillness, like, again, it is a muscle that we work out and we get better at, but it's okay if at first you can't just sit still in a chair and quietly meditate for 30 minutes. That's
Yeah.
okay. I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in doing things right or being overly legalistic about our stillness or our quiet times, that we kind of miss the point, and it becomes something that we do or achieve rather than a posture or a state that we just sort of bask in.
All right. I want to read the quote
Mhm.
because there's a particular point that I think is coming up in our conversation.
Mhm.
In the stillness of quiet, if we listen, we can hear the whisper of the heart, giving strength to weakness, courage to fear, and hope to despair. So one thing I was really thinking about with this quote is it a whisper? And
Mm.
why? Like, when our heart is really trying to minister to us, to encourage us, I would be like the Holy Spirit is.
Mhm.
Is it? Is it a whisper?
Gosh, I'm hesitant to say with certainty about anything, but my inclination is sort of when it comes to the heart, yeah. Not in the sense that it's quiet and like inaudible, but just that it takes intention. And like you really have to center down and listen. It's not the only way God communicates with us. And it's not to say that because I think the heart often whispers that it is not clear. It's just that it requires a certain type of listening to really tune in to the heart and be aware and present of kind of what is coming up for you and what God is trying to cultivate in you and bear fruit of in your life.
Yeah. How has God used stillness to speak to you, and what does that look like? If someone's listening right now and they're like, well, I'm sitting down or I'm moving, I'm doing the movement and I'm trying to be quiet, but I'm struggling to discern. Like, what are some things that you've seen in your life and your experience that you've known like, oh, this is what God is doing, like this is what God is cultivating?
Gosh, so I had an experience a couple of weeks ago where I thought I was going to lose my dog, and it was horrible and just like the worst thing ever. And normally in moments like that, I would panic and I would get worked up and I would start scrambling and I would just start rushing and trying to do and figure things out. But what I found myself doing in that moment of crisis was hunkering down and really spending time feeling gratitude for the life that my dog and I shared. Luckily, she's fine and everything worked out. Spoiler alert, she's fine. But for those 3 days, I really got to experience the fruit that silence has brought forth in my life. I felt a sense of peace that was foreign to me. I felt an inner strength and fortitude and courage that I didn't know that I had. And I found that when I retreated into silence, when I turned off the television, turned off the podcast, turned off the music, and just really allowed myself to be in silence, that is where I found the greatest reservoir, the deepest wells of strength and courage that I didn't know that I had. And frankly, I don't know if I would have been able to access them if I hadn't been doing the reps of practicing silence over the years.
I think what's really coming up is the fact that silence is a muscle. It's something that we have to work towards. But I think it's amazing and really divine that at one of the moments that you had a really difficult thing, it was all of the other times that you practiced stillness, and maybe not even for a particular reason.
Totally.
But now the fruit of that thing is that after years and times when you experience something really difficult, you were able to navigate it in a new way.
Yeah, I realized that I had another place to go. I didn't just have to go to fear. I didn't just have to go to panic. I had another place to be instead. And I just, it was transformative and a huge realization and a gift that I couldn't have known when I would need it. But I'm so grateful to have been able to find that strength and hope and courage in silence when I really, truly needed it.
I'm still stuck on I had another place to go. I'm still stuck there. Because I think that if we can keep that before us in moments when we're triggered, when we feel anxious, when we're like, I have another place to go. There is a peace that is available to me. And I think that's even what Thurman was trying to get us to understand with that quote.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have another place to go. I'm going to use that. I'm going to just be walking down the halls again. I have another place to go. Whatever's going on, I have another place to go. So I want to delve deeper into the office of worship and all the great things you do there. How do you cultivate, or how does your office cultivate spaces for meditation or silence in your work?
Gosh, so that is a huge part of the way that we like to offer worship experiences is through moments of pause and rest and silence. Every other Thursday, we open the spiritual formation room in the basement of Cannon for our breathing space. And we have prayer practices. We have a labyrinth down there. We lay out pillows and blankets for anybody that wants to take a nap. We try to offer consistent spaces for students to go and just kind of check out of the day and take a moment for themselves to pause, rest, contemplate, or really just be.
Yeah.
Kind of remove themselves. We also like to incorporate silence in worship. There was a Taizé service that we did, for example, this past fall that incorporated a lot of silence, a lot of chanting, a lot of scripture. There are so many different ways to encounter God. And I think in worship, so often we think of the singing and the proclaiming of the word. We think about the loud parts. But sometimes it's in those moments of like silent, reflective prayer in the congregation with others that are equally as transformative and powerful. And another thing that we do is we offer 2 silent retreats every single year.
Mm-hmm.
And those are like my favorite things that we do. Love them.
So how do students experience like the silent retreat before and after? Like, what do you see?
So the consistent feedback we get is that was so much easier than I thought it would be. And it felt so much better than I anticipated. A lot of students on the drive to the location, they have some anxiety about our fall retreat. We go and it's a 3-day, 2-night silent retreat. And we are silent the whole time during meals, during everything. And so there is understandably some anxiety of the students as we're making our way down to South Georgia. We go to Greenbow House of Prayer. But by the end of the weekend, what we always hear is that was so much easier and fulfilling than I thought it was going to be. And I'm going to take parts of this weekend with me to my daily life. Because I think what you learn also on a silent retreat is that like nothing special happens. Like, I mean, you are in a different setting but like you're not saying magical prayers. It's not different than the world that you live in all the time.
You have access to it.
Yeah, you're just in a different place that shifts your awareness. That's available to us everywhere. And I think that's something that we learn on silent retreats because in some ways there's some mundanity, with them. You wake up, you don't talk, but you experience the world differently when you aren't performing community. You're not trying to be smart or funny or charming or in a good mood. You get to just be with people in community and realize how fulfilling that is, no words necessary.
When you said performing community, I think so many of us are doing that without realizing it.
I think so too.
Like in the act of busyness, we put things on the calendar and we create spaces for gathering and we just put so much into it. And it's honestly performed. Like we don't mean to.
No, not at all. But it can become that way because we, like you said, we get so busy that our social engagements almost just feel like another thing on the to-do list. And we forget just the joy of existing in the company of another person.
Yes.
Like it doesn't have to be a fancy meal that we've prepared or we have to drive so far out of our way to do whatever. Like just be together and be surprised at how that truly is enough.
Yeah. There's peace in simplicity.
100%.
I'm laughing internally a bit as we're having this conversation because I know even for me, a lot of times when I'm thinking about in my work with the Foundry, in my work even for this podcast, when the topic of stillness originally came up, I was like, I don't know, Lord. Like, I don't know. Is this something that we need to talk about? But I realized it was in my moment of stillness myself that I realized this is something that we really need to talk about. So you just shared so many wonderful gems. No, like so many things that are so helpful to people. But we like this podcast to be practical.
Sure.
We like to make sure that when someone listens and they're like, oh my gosh, Rachal She was great. But what are 3 tips that you would share with people who are listening now that they can go and use when they're maybe experiencing some despair or they feel hopeless or they need that moment of stillness in order to get out of something, to get through something, or just to incorporate in their daily lives? Like, what are 3 tips that you would give people to find stillness?
Yeah. I would say really find what works for you. There's a lot of different channels to engage in stillness because we remember stillness is not a lack of movement. It is just the presence of peace and the absence of bustle. And so maybe for you, that is hiking or drawing or cooking or going on a walk, petting your dog, whatever it might be. I think that God provides opportunities for us to tap into silence in the tasks of our everyday lives. At our most recent silent retreat, we were at the Ignatius House in Sandy Springs, and they had some construction going on. And our retreat director jokingly and truthfully reminded us that quiet is a posture of the spirit, not necessarily a reflection of what's going on around us. And so I think finding what works for you in terms of tapping into stillness. If you're a creative person, follow your creativities and see where that happens. If you're an athlete, trust your body, trust that intuition. I think that God uses our desires and the things that we enjoy to invite us into moments of connection. And at the end of the day, contemplation is practicing the presence of God. And you can do that doing anything.
Yeah. Rachal, thank you thank you so much. I think that you've given us just a lot of things to reflect on, a lot of things we can actively do. And I pray that when people listen to this podcast, that they realize that stillness is not only available to them, but it's really about the internal work, not the external work.
Exactly. And not even internal work that you are doing. It is work that God is doing in your heart, tilling the soil, pruning the leaves, planting new seeds. And then, years later, you are in a moment of crisis with your dog, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I have another place to go filled with strength, peace, and the courage that I need to face whatever is coming next.
As you said that, thanks be to God is literally all that came to mind.
Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Rachal. Thank you so much for this conversation. I know it's going to bless so many people.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the Foundry, and I'm so thrilled to have been here.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invitation.
Of course.